to Ask a Mountain Bike Professional podcast. This is Dave. I've got Nicole and Aaron with me as well. Say hi, guys.
Hello.
The way this podcast came about was Aaron and I just got back from a trip a few weeks ago, and we will do our best to not name any names or locations so that our one listener that was with us won't feel bad. But we got to talking on the way back, and we actually had a couple of people ask us on the trip, because there was some interesting, good and bad and ugly in that trip. And we had a couple guys ask us, well, let's plan one next year. What's gonna make this the best bike trip possible if we do it again next year? Aaron went for Aaron went for 4 or 5 days. I showed up late and left early, which was actually a great way to do it. But we've also got Nicole here, because we're going to talk about a whole bunch of different types of bike trips. So that how to bike trip, right? What makes a bike trip unique that you have to plan differently?
Obviously, if you go on a family trip, you're definitely going to plan differently than if you go with, friends. And I get asked all the time to go on bike trips because everybody
you're
wants,
so handsome.
Because everybody wants a bike mechanic.
Oh, sorry.
On hand, and so everybody's like, "Oh, I could tolerate Aaron for a few days if he fixes my bike when I break it."
Oh well, let's turn this into a therapy session. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel like my skills are valued in very specific situations.
No, I'd say most people invite you because they want you to come along, buddy. Do you need a hug?
Okay.
Let's word that a little bit differently. Let's just list some of the different bike trips that you can go on and what kind they are. So, for example, no offense to everyone else in the world, I kind of like solo bike trips occasionally, and I really like to go on bike trips with myself and my wife, or myself and one or two other people.
Mm-hmm. I
like small group bike trips.
Absolutely.
So you do that. Nicole, have you ever done the all ladies bike trip? Because
yes.
the all dudes bike trip happens all the time. Have you done all ladies bike trips?
Yes, we have.
What makes that different? What makes that good, bad, or ugly?
I haven't done a ton of only ladies bike trips, but when I have, they are super well planned. I will say, ladies know how to time out what we're doing, where we're staying, when we're not biking, what we're doing. I have only gone with riders who are my same level too, which has really helped the dynamic of what we're doing.
We're going to talk about that a lot. Okay. Yeah, that's actually
I really have never gone with a whole bunch of some people who can go hard, some maybe that can't. And I think that would change.
Yeah, well, actually you have.
What?
I'm not saying when you've ridden with me. Come on, be nice. I'm saying when you've gone with your kids.
Well, with family, but as far as girls, ladies only trips.
You've made sure that everybody was at the same level.
Honestly, I would have to say I'm pretty picky about those. When I go, I don't want to mess around most of the time. If I'm going somewhere to ride for and I don't know, with my trips with girls, they're very condensed time. These aren't week-long trips. They're 2 days, 3 days, where you're just fitting in everything you can, hitting everything you can. So I definitely want to go with people who have that same mentality, or I tend to get a little impatient.
So reoccurring theme right now is basically group dynamics might be the most important thing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
To a successful bike trip, and knowing that going in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going with your family, you obviously plan it differently. You have other activities mixed in. Hopefully there's a pool or some dinosaur or something for my kids that we can go look at. And there's some easier rides and maybe even some short shuttle rides that my kids can do. And then we rotate when we do that. My wife and I rotate all the time, and then we'll plan on me going riding early in the morning, and then I take the kids and she'll go riding and then typically get lost, and then we'll sit across the canyon from Ahab's and look across and watch her do the loop multiple times and wonder how long it's going to take till she gets tired or finds her way out. So that's actually a true story, but it was kind of awesome. That's family, right? How do you do a family trip right, I guess, real quick? Just a couple things that make family trips successful. You guys go on a lot of them. I go on quite a few bike trips or mixed use trips where we take bikes. What really makes a family bike trip awesome for you guys?
Diversity in riding, absolutely. Like if you've got the trails that you can hit in the morning, it works probably the best if you've got an older kid that can watch the younger kids while you and your wife go ride, or if you and your wife take turns on who goes out and rides in the morning. If there's a trail that is fun for you, and then a trail that the kids can ride also. So like St. George area has a lot of really great diverse riding. I think everybody that's taking kids to St. George has ridden Bear Claw Poppy.
Yeah, it's like a perfect kids trail.
Yeah, such a fun trail because it's easy and it's fun, and so you don't have to be completely committed to riding bikes. But yeah, and then we've gone to Bentonville, Arkansas, which has such diverse riding. We've been to Bend, Oregon. Moab actually isn't that great for riding with kids.
I might disagree with that.
Yeah.
Just got to do it right. So my little girl learned how to ride a bike without training wheels in the dirt parking lot across from Slick Rock parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
So we just did it, we did it that way. So, and we went and rallied dirt roads while my wife rode, and then I rotated and rode with my older son, and then my little girl learned how to ride because she wanted to participate, and she thought it was cool that she went on a bike trip. But she didn't ride any trails that year.
Mm-hmm.
She just hung out in the parking lot across the road and learned how to ride a bike without training wheels with all these people there cheering her on.
Yeah, Jack, when he was tiny, he loved talking about how he went biking in Moab, and we just biked in the parking lot and around the hotel when we were in Moab. And so yeah, the trails, there are a few decent trails, and they're actually getting better in Moab, but especially 10-15 years ago it was hard to get a good trail ride in with the kid.
But a kid's gonna think they're super cool doing the Slick Rock practice loop.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna think it's awesome. And you don't even do the whole thing. You just go up over that first hump,
Mm-hmm.
and you run up and down the Slick Rock with them a few times, and they think they're awesome.
Yeah, I've taken my kids to just before it gets to the loop, just that section from the parking lot.
Yeah. So Nicole, you guys have done long drives.
Yeah, we have.
Worth it? Not worth it?
No, totally worth it. It's worth it. I think the long drives are okay for us because our kids do pretty well in the car. If you got little tinies and you're stopping all the time for potty breaks, that might get a little frustrating because our longest drive was last year, 2 years ago, and that was 22 hours one way. That was a long drive, but I felt like it was worth it. For me, a family trip that makes it work is if my kids get on their bike, but they want to get on them again later. Like, so maybe you take them out and it's not so exhausting and so harsh that they're crying and like frustrated. That can happen. We definitely had trips like that. But if you can even just get them out on paved bike paths, like they love that stuff. Like just getting them out riding. They're obviously not going to ride like adults ride. And I think that's something that is a little bit of a learning curve at times with parents. They think their kids are going to do more than they actually can, and then you kind of turn them off of wanting to do these trips that involve biking. So I think we're a little more selective now about when we take our kids out and what we choose to take them on, because we don't want them frustrated
and
the whole trip.
Expectations and planning and all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, the nice thing is a lot of the modern bike parks have little kids sections now.
Yeah, and if you can find a bike park, that's really fun for them, because there's usually all levels.
Yeah, you can do your hour and a half at the bike park, and then rotate with your significant other or older kid, watch them, go out and ride.
Yeah, those are perfect.
That's a pretty fun way to do it.
If it's a family trip, bring your parents.
Yeah, bring a
Bring
parent.
sitters so you can enjoy.
Grandma and grandpa.
That's
if
actually,
you've got like young
we
kids.
totally failed to hit on that with families. Like
Yeah, because they want to come. They just want to hang out.
Yeah.
with
So
you.
yeah, they want to
Grandma
hang
and
out in the
grandpa.
condo in Moab or wherever. They're not. They don't want to
Take
go
the
ride.
kids to this place for a minute while we go ride. You know,
Yeah.
if you've got that available to you, I would say that.
Not kids. So other than kids rides, I think those are all really great things for the little wee kids to have a good time. What about if you were to try and make like the perfect bike trip? That was the question that we were asked. How to make a bike trip the best it can possibly be. We talked about that for the long drive back, and group dynamics came up a ton. That's what you just said. Trying to ride with people in the same level as you or as the main group. I know we ended up with a couple of guys who were ready to throw in the towel after the first day on this last trip and thought it was a horrible idea, that we were stupid people and blah blah blah. But if you're in a small group, it's super important that everybody's on the same level.
Yeah. And I think it's much easier to understand the levels because when you've got a huge group, usually what happens is you've got your core group that everybody knows, and then you've got a few people that are branched out that don't know. Like, just know one guy from the group or maybe a couple guys from the group, and everybody's like, hey, this guy has a nice bike. He must be capable of riding. But I've also found that I rode with a huge group a few years ago. My first time on Mag 7, we shuttled it, and everybody, when we were climbing up to the Blue Dot Trail, well, this was actually before Blue Dot was blue and before it was legal, there was that big climb on the Jeep road, and everybody kept asking me, they're like, hey, I thought you said this was all downhill. I'm like, no, I did not. You must have assumed it because it was a shuttle, because I would never have said that.
So bad expectations among the group.
Yeah, but then we got up to the top of that, and like I freaking loved all of that stuff up there on like the very top of Gold Bar Rim. Like it was amazing to me, and I loved it. And then finally I'm like, you know what? We should probably regroup, because at one time we had like 38 guys, and I think
that's too big of a group in my opinion.
Yeah, it was absolutely too big of a group. We had a full bus, and then a couple of other trucks, and a few guys we knew peeled off, and then a couple had to peel off because they had some bike issues, and yeah, I think we ended up at the bottom with 21. Which is still a ton, but not nearly as many as it probably should have been.
Yeah, Mag 7, for people who haven't ridden it, is 7 trails linked together in Moab, and although you do typically shuttle it, you're really just shuttling to the trailhead. You're not shuttling because you're going to have a bunch of downhill.
Yeah, it's a point to point is why you shuttle it, because it would be ridiculous to climb back up it.
Yeah, it's high exposure, tons of technical riding. If you're not in a small group, you're in a larger group, and you can't really control that everybody's at the same level, I would totally recommend breaking it up into smaller groups and planning ahead of time and having an out that these guys can bail out on.
Yeah.
Whether it's a different route, or you take another vehicle that can pick them up, or if they can pedal back up to where you started after a chunk of the trail.
Yeah, on something like Mag 7, that would work well.
So you don't end up with people that hate you and hate biking and hate the area and are drinking their own urine and
True story.
all those fun things that happen when you don't do that very well. Yeah. Group dynamics, super key. I would say be really careful to invite people that you don't know very well on a long bike trip. Go ride with them locally first.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, a lot of those guys I had ridden with in Ogden area, which has some good riding and like some big miles and even some big climbs. And so I wasn't concerned about most of them. And then
it only takes 2 or 3.
Yeah.
If you don't break the group up, it only takes 2 or 3 to really turn a 2-hour ride into a 10-hour ride.
Yeah, it ended up being, I think, 6 hours.
Yeah.
But some of those guys that I thought were more than capable, they were like, this is the worst trail I've ever been on. Yeah, I was surprised at the people that didn't enjoy it at all. And that happens with technical riding. You know, even if you're able to do a 50-mile trail ride, throw in the wrong type of technical riding, and
I've got a picture here of a guy in the back of the truck after Mag 7 who honestly passed out for about 15 minutes, and he did a great job of that trail. I don't want to say he didn't, but he was like completely tuckered, just full knackered, back of the truck, passed out on the drive home.
cuddling his bike
and some gear, and was legitimately out and was totally fine.
Yeah.
That's super important. And how do you not be that guy that everybody hates on a bike trip? Nicole's been lucky because she always picks the right gals to go with. Have you ever been in a group, though, where you have that guy or that gal that everybody, by the end of one ride, they're like, oh my gosh, why did this person come with us?
Well, I haven't had on bike trips. I've had on shuttle rides.
Yeah.
When you go shuttle something that has some tricky spots, and I actually think maybe both of you were on this one that I'm thinking of, but someone brings like a significant other along and like, oh, they're doing pretty good, they can handle it, and then you're riding down in the dark, and you're wondering if people are still alive up there, and should you bike back up to them? So I definitely like learn in that situation, okay, that's not someone I'm going to invite on my trip, you know.
Yes.
But shout out, ladies, if you're not at my level, that doesn't mean I won't go with you.
Yeah.
I feel like, because for me it's just
all
about expectations. Yeah,
yeah.
If I know, hey, this is more like just a chill trip, we're gonna ride, I don't know how fast, like if I just know in my head that's what I'm gonna do, that's totally fine. But then I've got my group, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, we don't shop, we don't like waste time, we go ride, we ride big, we eat big, we go sleep, you know?
So group dynamics and expectations, huge. Like
it really can make or break it. Like, it's just what you want out of the trip.
I've been on the trip, I've been on a trip with Aaron before where, like, we went on one ride, went back to the place, fully expecting to go out again, and the dudes, like, broke out their Nintendo. And started playing, and it was, like, 7 hours of Nintendo. And we're looking at each other like, what are we doing? Yeah. Was this a horrible idea? Like, what have we done? But it turned out to still be a great trip, but it was weird. It didn't meet our expectations.
Yeah, and the next trip with those guys, we had those expectations, and we knew that we could still go ride.
Yeah, we could go ride with the smaller group.
Without offending someone.
Yeah. And then, I mean, in contrast to that, we went on a trip to the Pacific Northwest, and we were, like, honestly doing, like, 3 or 4 rides every single day. And that was fun and nuts, and I was kind of injured. I was hamstrung. And so that's like the only trip I remember being able to pick and choose and be like, I can't go on that third ride today. But you can be that person who is cool bailing and saying, hey, I'm not going to go on this one, I'll be the shuttle driver. Or even better, I'm going to have dinner ready when you get back.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and had like 40 hamburgers.
We had that trip, and when we got back, there was protein, and it was great.
It was awesome. So other ways to plan a perfect bike trip. Location, we talked about that a little bit. Obviously, kind of knowing what you're getting into. I think that there are way too many bike trips that don't need to happen. Meaning, that sounds bad, but meaning that if you're a mountain biker, you probably live in a good place to mountain bike. And a lot of times people drive forever to go bike, and they could have done that really close. And like staycation biking, I'm all for that. There are probably trails around you haven't ridden or within 2 hours of where you live that you don't have to. I'm not saying don't do it, but I mean, longest drive for me that ended up being a big bike trip was Mexico. That one was a unique experience. But I've also spent hours and hours and hours driving and been like, dude, my trail that's 30 minutes from my house is so rad, and I haven't ridden it this year.
Yeah.
You know? So I don't know, I'm a big proponent of location, like choosing it wisely. If you're going to go big, make sure you have the right group, make sure you have the right plan, make sure everybody has the same expectations, because it's much easier to have a great almost staycation bike trip with a group than it is for people to have spent all the time and money and effort to get somewhere and then have it not meet their expectation.
Yeah, I think we've talked a number of times because one of my absolute favorite trails anywhere is Spring Hollow here in Logan Canyon. Nicole and I actually did end up doing kind of a staycation type thing with a couple of there were a couple of other couples. It ended up being just one other couple, but it was rad because we rode a lot of miles. We rode a lot of really awesome stuff, and we normally don't plan to ride that much here because we always have to get kids to different places or whatever it might be, being adults.
Yeah.
And so
adulting sucks.
Yeah. We made the plan to just go ride, and it ended up being pretty awesome. We did maybe 2 half days and 1 full day.
Mm-hmm. And just stayed at a cabin.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, we talked about doing it with like people that can really rip and somebody to shuttle, because when you're here near your home, some people that don't normally ride. Yeah, because Dave and I, we've got what we call the ultimate shuttle planned out.
Which we didn't pull off this fall.
We
had to bring that up.
We haven't ever pulled it off.
We've gotten so close many years. We always make an attempt.
We've always been able to make it acceptable. Well, yeah, almost always.
The almost ultimate shuttle.
Yeah.
But we didn't even try this year. Maybe it'll dry out and we'll lose some snow and be able to do it. But.
Or it'll freeze, but the roads will be...
How do you guys communicate with the group you're with? And do you think of that beforehand? Do the all-ladies group take walkie-talkies if they're not going to have? Or they just all stay together? Do boys groups break up all the time?
Oh, yeah. We lose people.
We're together. Yeah, I can tell you guys ride different. We stick together. Like, the farthest we're going to get is someone's on a climb where you can see everyone and gets to the top and stops and waits for everybody else. Like, that's the farthest apart we get.
Yeah, no, like...
And
I can't tell you how many group rides or bike trips I've been on where you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting. You've told all the jokes you know, and that one guy's told you about all the climbs he's done in the year and how many vertical feet they were and how fit he is, and then you don't know what else to do, and then you send somebody back up the trail, and then you wait some more, and yeah. A lot of times you don't have service. It really is a good idea to be like skiers if you're going to be in that group and have some sort of communication. I don't do it very often, but it's good.
Yeah.
Aaron and I have done that. Walkie-talkies.
Yeah.
We don't really do it much anymore.
No, but communication's key. Also, how you make sure that everybody's on the group chat for the ride. Communication is super important while you're out riding as well as what you're going to do. And what's your biggest pet peeve on a bike trip? I can tell you mine when you're thinking, because I know mine right now. Unless you.
For me, it is 100% the guy that isn't fantastic at riding, but has no idea that he isn't fantastic at riding. So he's the first to drop in.
In front of you.
I'm gonna be the leader guy.
Yeah.
When he shouldn't be.
That's funny, because all the girls are like, "Oh, you go. No, you go. No, I promise you're faster. No, you're faster." It is like this polite little, I don't know.
Girls and Canadians, I guess.
Yeah.
Kentuckians, too.
Oh, that's funny.
Mine is sitting around being like, dude, what are we going to ride? Well, we should ride this. What are we going to do next? What are we going to do? And that's not that it has to be planned all the way out. I hate spending 2 hours figuring out what you're going to do, and everybody's ready to go, or mostly ready to go, and I hate the arguing and the debate over what you're going to ride.
Mm-hmm.
Just figure it out. Even if it's the night before every day the next day, figure it out and then just go do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that drives me nuts. And it probably too much, but it totally drives me nuts when it's a prime morning and the temperature's perfect and you spend 2 hours figuring out what's going on because people can't agree. And then you go on the ride and you're like, this would have been so much better 2 hours ago.
Mm-hmm.
And you're starving by the time you finish this 5 hour ride, and it would have been... Yeah, anyway, that's my pet peeve. Nicole, do you have one?
It's probably just when I want to ride more and no one else wants to. Like, they're just all done and I'm like, You know, like, we drove all this way. Like,
you don't want to
we
play
should go
Nintendo.
do, like, a little bit. That is mind-boggling to me.
Yeah.
That you, like, even on a vacation, like any vacation, I would never bring a Nintendo. You know what I mean? Because you're somewhere new.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not biking, I'm probably going to go, like, see something.
Yeah, like
we're
kids,
very busy, I guess.
My
we're very
kids
busy
will turn
on
on the
vacation.
TV on vacation sometimes, but I can't.
And that's
I can't
fine.
tell you the last time that my wife and I have turned on the TV in a hotel room or an Airbnb or whatever. Like, we just don't do it. We don't turn it on. I mean, we're somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know?
We turn on the wind down.
Experience those things.
Yeah. Which, once again, maybe that's not your jam. Pick people that want to be like-minded with you that way. How about, I guess, what are some other considerations that can make or break a bike trip? Yeah, I guess I should say my other pet peeve is bad shuttle math. But I think we're going to talk about how to shuttle and ultimate shuttle setups. I don't mean just to get the elevation drop. Sometimes, like Aaron was saying, it's a point-to-point, but it really sucks when you screw that up. Or whoever planned it did, and you end up with one vehicle and 20 dudes.
Oh, yeah.
Or you end up with, like, 19 people up there and somebody left a vehicle with 4 bikes on it 35 miles away. You're like, oh, I guess you guys are all the drivers now.
Yeah.
That should never happen, but I've been on rides where it has. So do good shuttle math.
Yeah.
Figure it out. If you're going to ride a shuttle, pick a reputable company with vehicles that work. I've tried doing the whole enchilada. It took 3.5 hours to get to the top because the van broke down 3 times.
Those of you that have been to Moab, you might know which shuttle company that might be.
Not going to say any names, but if it runs on vegetable oil, it probably doesn't actually run.
It's a good idea.
It is a good idea. It's super eco-friendly.
However, we figured out why we were able to jump onto that shuttle last minute.
There were still spaces available.
For me, it really is the people and the location, and like we said, you really don't need to have everybody just absolute rippers to enjoy the bike trip. You just have to have people that understand where they're at. And
you got to have the expectations set beforehand, and then you have to be accommodating of what's going on in the group, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think most trips, I mean, mountain bikers in general are pretty chill. We make it sound like it's awful, but it's actually fantastic. I've been on bike trips with guys who were way more hammerhead than me, and we dropped them off partway up the whole enchilada, and then we went the rest of the way, and we met them partway down, and they pedaled up 15 miles of the whole enchilada to meet us, and they got their workout in, and they were completely spanked by the time we got to the bottom, and so were those of us who started at Burro Pass and went over the top. But everybody, that was an awesome trip, because everybody kind of figured out where they fit as far as, like, total hammerhead, wearing a heart rate monitor and spandex, and I'm here to party in the woods, and I'm going to beat y'all downhill, but on uphill I'm going to walk. We all kind of knew where we fit, and I think that you're right. It doesn't have to be everybody at exactly the same level, but expectations need to be set. And yeah, you need to go into that knowing that so that you can all have a good time. What's still on your list for bike trips? Let's say that you can drive to reasonably. What's still on your list that you haven't ridden?
Yeah, because Rotorua, New Zealand, that's like really high on my list of want, but very low on my reality.
Yeah. Nicole, where do you want to ride next year that you haven't ridden yet?
Whistler.
Oh, yeah, you could drive to Whistler. That's true.
I really want to go there.
Yeah, it seems like it's so far, but like, and it is far for us. It's what, 16 hours? Is that what we figured it out as? Yeah. And so, but that's a trip that you could make in one day.
Yeah, especially if you don't have kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can totally do it. And you probably don't want to take. I mean, I could take one of my kids to Whistler. The other two just aren't old and strong enough to enjoy that yet. How about I still haven't ridden Sedona.
Yeah, we haven't either.
I know, it's so weird.
It's what, 7 hours for us? 7.5?
Really? Is that it?
Something like that. It's not that bad.
Yeah, it really wasn't like
doing it
a lot further than a lot of the places we go.
Yeah. And I still haven't ridden Sedona. That's on my list. You guys did one that's on my list last winter, I think. Caliente.
Oh, yeah.
So that is an example of like a mixed trip. Like some things worked, some things didn't with children. Like this is, so in this instant, we knew no one really, right? Maybe you knew some people that had ridden these trails.
No, I didn't know anybody.
So we're going in like not knowing a lot. It's a very small town. Tiny town. Like, oh yeah, the railroad runs through it, and that's what keeps it alive, probably. But we realized when we're there, we like tried a little tiny bike park area for our kids, which turned out to be not like awesome, but they rode for a second. But all the trails we rode were too loose, too techy. Like our kids, our youngest for sure, would be like walking, on it. So there wasn't enough for them to do. So we were having a great time.
Oh, it was. I loved
like,
it.
The trails are actually pretty cool.
But then you're wishing you did.
Then we're like, what do we do with the kids during the day? It was more for us. And since it's such a small town, there wasn't a lot for them to do. We found a watering hole, which is actually pretty disgusting, and we shouldn't have gone in it, but we were desperate.
It was a warm
buy some
springs.
cows, some pasture.
Some warm springs.
It was disgusting. I don't know. I was shocked anyone got in it, but I should show you a picture. It was so gross. And I don't even know what else we did with them, really.
We did some cool stuff.
What did we do?
You can't think of anything,
We went
can
to
you?
dinner.
We went to the Cathedral State
there
Park.
was a state park.
That was rad, but
Okay,
it
we
was
didn't know that
way
was there.
smaller than I expected.
But it was really cool. It was cool.
And baby girl got a sucker with a
Scorpion in it. Yeah. That's still in her
Nice.
bedroom.
She never ate the scorpion?
No.
She didn't get to it, or she just hasn't eaten it?
She, I think on purpose, has not reached.
Yeah.
Not interested.
I think she's afraid.
I can't remember everything we talked about on the long ride home, except that I ended up using one or two of the dudes as a lesson for my kids in etiquette and how to behave as a human, so that you don't have everyone frustrated with you at the end. And it was super helpful. And I wasn't down on them. I just gave my kids examples, and we were like, hey, if you're in this situation and you're doing this, how do you think that'll make everyone else respond to you? And if you catch yourself doing this, how would you fix it in this scenario? So it's actually super helpful. But
yeah, being self-aware is actually pretty crucial for bike trips and life in general.
yeah, I mean, I know when I'm sick of myself, and then I usually go and be alone. Which sounds backwards, but it's because I'm sick of myself in a group. And that can happen. I think we nailed all the super important stuff here. We didn't really talk about gear, but that one's kind of its own topic. And we really just want people to get out and have great experiences when they go on bike trips. A huge plus for mountain biking in general for you to get out on bike trips, because that's what puts money into communities. That's what gets lawmakers excited about building more trails.
Yeah.
That's what gets communities excited about putting in bike parks, and because, I mean, economic drivers are what are going to make mountain biking continue to be a better and better experience wherever you live. So if you can be advocates of spending your vacation dollars in some form of mountain biking expenditure, you're gonna help the community in general.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the goal, is have a great time, so you want to go on more trips, and maybe that great time is taking that super awesome bike that you bought, that you've ridden 3 times, and you go drive for 10 hours and ride 3 short shuttle rides and drink just a megaton of alcohol. And you tell a lot of great jokes, and you hang out in the evening and, watch other people send it huge. Then the next day you go send it small.
Yeah.
And you still have fun, eat a ton of delicious food, and spend dollars on that awesome bike, and go ride those awesome short shuttle trails, and drop a bunch of money into the community. That's awesome. As long as you're with a group that wants to do that, high fives to you.
Well,
good on you.
Yeah. On that same note, like Whistler, which is a massive ski resort, they make more money at their bike park during the summer than they do in the winter. I don't know if part of that is because they go from May until October.
Yeah, they've got like 7-8 months of bike season.
Yeah, which has to make a difference, but at the
still.
same time, that is time that they wouldn't be making money otherwise. But then, Caliente, Caliente, Nevada, they've put a ton of money into marketing to get people there. They've put money into building trails, so they're bringing people there. Like, they have hotels that make money because of biking.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, I hate to be a cynic, but really, money drives this industry like every other industry out there.
Oh yeah.
And
it kind of has to, for it to be an industry.
Yeah, I mean, this sport, this thing that we all love. So yeah, go spend money at your local bike shop. Go spend money at your local restaurants. And anytime you can, go on a bike trip to one of these places that's trying to make a name for themselves for biking. I mean, there's so many communities out there that are blown up that way. I mean, Sun Valley, Idaho is huge now. And almost all the resorts around Lake Tahoe and Lake Tahoe in general has become a huge mountain biking destination. But even just a few years ago, it wasn't a place you went.
Yeah.
But it's huge now. Park City is well known for being a ski town that has turned into like a total mountain bike destination.
They're like a platinum IMBA ride center or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, luckily they have a ton of money in the community, but they've put it into developing their summer activities big time too. So get out there, ride, have great bike trips. Hopefully this is helpful. The people that were asking us, well, how do we make this next year's bike trip amaze balls instead of just holy balls?
Yeah, and I think really what it boils down to the most is small groups.
Right size your group, right size your expectations.
Yeah, if you've got a big group though, even break it down into the guys that do the same, or ladies, the people.
So my advice, if you were a first time, never gone on a bike trip, you're scared to, I don't know, you're just inexperienced with it. My advice would be small group, go with who you ride with all the time, if you can, like the people that you know, and then go somewhere that's popular that you can get a lot of information on, so you can have a good experience for your first maybe bike trip with a group, like somewhere you can get a lot of information from people who have ridden it that maybe know how you ride, just so you have a better experience. I think that'd be a good first trip if you've never gone with some friends before, somewhere outside of where you live.
And if you're super lucky, then you'll be able to go with somebody like Erin who has a ton of skills to help your trip be better, or Nicole.
Yeah, I like to take a bike mechanic with me if possible.
Nicole, who's a mountain bike coach, and I mean you got somebody there that can help you with that aspect of things.
You just don't want to get stuck on stuff that you don't know anything about and is way hard and you're walking your bike. So just getting lots of information and understanding about what you're doing.
That's something that I forgot about. Trail forks.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Use trail forks.
Yeah, use trail forks.
Or all trails. Or
for one thing,
MTB project.
MTB project. There's a bunch of apps out there. Figure it out ahead of time.
Yeah. They let you see if you're off the trail.
Yeah.
Because that's my biggest thing. Like you say, when you go, sometimes you go alone. I actually never go alone because I'm so nervous on trails by myself for the first time. So I always go with Erin. We let our kids sleep in the morning and we go ride. But because of stuff like that, I'm getting a little more willing to do it because I can see when I pull out my phone and check, I'm like, I am not even, I turned off here. I can follow my way back, get back on the trail, because I know that could be nerve-wracking when you're not familiar with the area. Those are so helpful.
Yeah. And if for some reason you're doing it old school, back in the early 2000s when I first started going to Moab, when we first got into town, we'd always stop at one of the bike shops and we would talk to those people and get a feel of where to ride. But even now, when we were in Fruita Grand Junction recently, and everybody we talked to had a trail suggestion.
Yeah.
And
overweight 55-year-old waiter was like, dude, you gotta ride this, man.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is awesome. You know, that's what it's all about. Thank you. Once again, thanks, Nicole. Thanks, Aaron. We got Nicole, Two Wheel Dirt School, Aaron with MTBTune.com, helping us out today.